is a question I always found difficult to answer. Should new immigrants to Canada buy real estate as early as possible? When I first arrived, real estate agents would say, by now, real estate always goes up. More recently, as the housing market cooled, the advice changed to, when others are fearful, be greedy. It's time to buy the dip. So, what's the truth? Is Canadian real estate actually a good investment? Instead of relying on opinions, I decided to look at the data myself. I found the Canadian Residential Property Price Index published in the FRED database, covering data from 1970 to 2024. The results were quite revealing. If you had bought a house in 1970 for $7,000, its value would have risen to $100,000 by 2010 and about $250,000 today. That may sound impressive, but the annualized return over those 54 years is only 6.7%. How should we interpret that? First, a 6.7% annual return is not terrible, but it's far from exceptional. Over the same period, the Canadian Stock Market Index, S&P TSX, delivered around 7.9% annually, and the US S&P 500 performed even better, averaging over 11%. Second, that 6.7% is just an average. Canadian real estate is highly cyclical. From 2000 to 2010, the annual return was 7.5%, but between 2020 and 2024, it dropped to just 4.1%. Third, that number is a nominal return. If we account for Canada's average annual inflation of around 4%, the real return drops to around 2.7%. Fourth, property ownership comes with ongoing costs, including property tax, condo fees, and maintenance expenses. Once those are factored in, the actual return may be close to 1% per year. In short, Canadian residential real estate has served as a tool for preserving wealth, but it's not a high-growth asset, at least not on average. Of course, we've all heard stories about people who became wealthy by buying real estate early. But in a market with a 1% real return, anyone who made a fortune likely had exceptional timing, sharp instincts, or simply good luck. That's not something every investor can count on. Ultimately, understanding the data allows us to make more grounded and informed decisions. What's your perspective on Canadian real estate?